Hey guys, this is the second episode of Dialogue Options. So this is officially a series now. We're officially big time. We have really made it into the YouTube and internet stardom. I am Hodge, and with me is Mark.
Hi there.
You're alive, fantastic. I get nervous when it's just me talking. Yeah, so if you guys haven't listened before, we're starting our own sort of gaming podcast. Me and Mark are old friends, and we just talk shit on the internet. So we thought, why not talk shit on the internet with an audience? Sounds good.
Yeah, and have a discussion. If you guys have anything to say, feel free to leave comments below.
Like, share, subscribe, click that bell icon,
all that kind of stuff.
YouTube, tick boxes.
Jargon. I should have pillows in the background.
Yeah, so
saying, like,
getting straight into it. Gamescom has been a recent thing. Lots of. It's been really cool, actually. There seem to be more gameplay releases than E3. It's like lots of games are announced at E3, but there's been loads of like gameplay and substance have come out of Gamescom, more than I expected, really.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen anything about Gamescom. So, do you want to go through with me? Like, is it like loads of trailers or?
So this is going to be a short podcast. Or it's just going to be me talking to myself. Do you think that's good odds? Yeah. Right, so the main thing I wanted to talk about, which I'm bugging Mark about a lot, is DMC5, the new Democrat. I cannot fucking wait for this game.
DMC5 is coming out?
So long. Yeah, didn't you know? Have I not mentioned it for like the fucking 10 millionth time?
I know.
Cannot fucking wait. And especially with like all the hype God of War has gotten, it's so nice to see another sort of tried and true hack and slash come in, because the first Devil May Cry, I think people forget how influential it was. It was just like the whole air juggling. It incorporated so many different like fighting game mechanics, and we hadn't really had that properly in an action game before. And yeah, it's had such a really strong cult fan base, I think, the Devil May Cry series. And we're all just so happy there's a new game, especially after the last one was just so weird.
Yeah, well, what you said about the first one coming out.
How many of the DMC games have you played?
So I've played 1, 2. Wait, what was the one with the young Dante now? I can't remember if that was 3 now. That was DMC3, wasn't it? Is it that delayed? It's going to take a while.
Shit, I can't hear you, man. Sorry, you're breaking up loads.
Alright, okay.
You sound better now. That's weird.
Okay, it's not been lagging, is
it? Are you talking? I can't hear you at all.
Yeah, I'm talking.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry about
that. I don't know. But it's DMC3, the one with the young Dante. That is, isn't it?
That's the one. That's the one.
Okay, because I've played DMC 1, 2, and 4 then. Because I didn't have...
Oh, so you haven't played the prequel then? You haven't played the first chronological game?
I did play it for a bit, but it was... I didn't have a PlayStation at the time. So I think I had it on PC, but I just didn't feel as good playing it on PC.
It's really fucking hard, the third game. Yeah. Especially there's... like... in all the games, you've got a devil trigger, which essentially is just your character speeds up, starts to regenerate health, does more damage. Right. And that's been like ripped off by every fucking developer since, which no complaints on me because it's awesome, including like the God of War series. But in the third game, you unlock it sort of a third of the way through or 2/5 of the way through. So the first part of the game is so fucking hard. It's so difficult because you can't like regen health and you haven't got that extra boost. Right. I remember playing on normal, and it was a bit weird because the Japanese release of the game was easier. Or the Japanese release came first, and the European North American release came, and they didn't have the what did they do? They changed normal difficulty for us was hard in Japan, basically.
Right.
So it was such a fucking slog getting through that first part of the game. It was a interesting slog, but it was hard.
Is
So
that
for
the one
anyone who
with
hasn't played,
Cerberus? Sorry.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The second boss is this massive fucking ice dog with 3 heads, Cerberus,
Okay.
and Jesus Christ, it's it really is like welcome to the fucking family, son. Welcome to Devil May Cry. It's such a hard boss. It took me like a couple of days to beat. After that, it does sort of chill out a bit. But initially, it was so fucking hard.
So
Seriously.
there's something I wanted to say about that as well. I'm glad you said it took you a few days. So at one time, you know Martin?
Hmm.
So this was down Martin's house. We had a party, and the next morning he brought his PlayStation down, and I'd already
Yeah.
played like the first and second one anyway, but I hadn't played the third one, and he was getting stuck on that boss, the Cerberus boss.
He loved Devil May Cry as well. He loved Devil May Cry.
Yeah, so I said to him, "Fucking hell, how are you not beating that guy? Like, it doesn't seem that hard." And
Yeah.
I should tell it was Tom. I did it. So he said, "If you beat this boss first try without dying, I will give you $5." So I was like, "All right then," and I beat him first try. And he's so annoyed. He's like,
I would have been so fucking wound up by that. Seriously.
he's like, "How have you beaten first time? He's like, you played this game before that?" And it's like, "No, I played the first and second one. I just never played this one."
The weird thing was, I remember Martin doing the exact same thing to my friend Ross, because he made out the first game was so hard, and the first boss, because I hadn't played it at the stage, he was struggling to beat, and then Martin did it like first time, and he was accusing him of having like a hacked PS2 and all this fucking stuff. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, how would that even work? So, anyway, for anyone who hasn't played the Devil May Cry series, it's got a bit of a campy anime type story, which we all love to death. And the same sort of gameplay is sort of persisted throughout, but every game has been a little bit different. I've noticed this recently. So the first game really revolutionized the genre, and you had sort of gunplay mechanics, and you basically have a devil arm, which was either sword or fists, and a selection of guns. And it was very fast movement, very challenging enemies, with all different sort of strategies you had to use for for different types. So you have to use your guns with more pressure for one, others you have to keep juggled, that sort of thing. The second game was a bit of a step down. Actually, it's the worst game in the fucking series. It was just so boring and really really drab environments. It didn't have the sort of the sense of humor the other games had, and the guns were really overpowered. So you could just sort of fucking just keep shooting your pistols, and you would take on bosses no problem. There was no sort of risk involved with it. They did a couple of things good. A couple of things were sort of set the game up good for Devil May Cry 3, but overall it was a little bit weak. And then 3 came around, and 3 was the fucking tits, and still is. It's probably the most loved in the series, number 3. And that's the one you haven't played.
Yeah, I think I'll have to get it, because I think they released it on PC, like properly on Steam, not too long ago, maybe. So I think I'll have to get it for Steam and give it a go. Because I mean, yeah, I liked the first one. DMC 4 was okay, but I don't think. I don't know about the third one, obviously, with the gunplay, because I only played the first short amount of time. But the gunplay in the first one, top notch, because I love the fact that if you hit the button fast enough, you could shoot as fast. Yeah, you could just shoot as fast as you can. Yeah. But in the second one, I remember I'm pretty sure they took that away. And I was like, why would you take that away? That was like one of the best features about it.
Yeah, they did. They capped you, and I ended up using the submachine guns, because if you held the button down for submachine guns, you would just do a constant rate. Because it would annoy me, because you would be pressing the button, and they wouldn't do the same amount of hits as you would press, and it was just needlessly capping you, like really irritating. But the third game, what they changed that was huge, and I'm saying this because it brings up Devil May Cry 5 essentially. Is what people wanted was to shuffle between different weapons and guns on the fly. So before you had to sort of go into a menu and say, I want to use this gun instead, or this sword instead. But they wanted to do it mid-combo.
You mean the newest one that's just released, yeah? Like not too long ago?
No, Devil May Cry 3. This was.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So basically, at the start of the mission, you'd pick two guns and two devil arms, and you could switch back and forth through them. So you could do like swing with your sword, and then bust out into the nunchucks and all that sort of stuff, which is so fucking cool for the time, and it really raised the sort of the skill ceiling as well. And so you could again do like juggle someone with your handguns and then shoot someone with a shotgun when they come close. And it was just added so many layers of complexity to the game. And like Devil May Cry 1 is my favorite, but it's not that complex a game in hindsight. But Devil May Cry 3 really fucking stepped things up. And they also had a feature called, which is in Devil May Cry 4 for Dante, of the styles. So you could change your style. So you would have triangle was for sword attacks, square was for gun attacks, and circle would be for styles. So you had 4 main styles: were trickster, which would do dodging; a royal guard, which would be like blocking and counterattacks; gunslinger and sword master. Both would do different effects for your swords and guns.
Okay.
The swords, especially, you could do so many different combos with them. It was just insane. Devil May Cry 4 comes round, and Dante is just fucking absolute. Like, you're a madman. If I've watched some of the high level play of Dante, and like I said before, you have to select your style at the start of the level. Your guns and your style to select at the start of the level. In 4, you have 3 weapons, 3 guns, and you can select all the styles at once with the D-pad. So the amount of fucking variety in Dante's play is insane, because you can go from your fast moving attacks to fancy gun work, and then block someone and then do like a massive sword attack. And it was just insane, the amount, because you've got like just 3 different guns, 3 different weapons.
Yeah.
They all act differently to each other, and depending on what style you have, they'll act. You can use them differently. It was just fucking nuts. But the problem with Devil May Cry 4 was, it was a great game, but it wasn't really finished. So essentially, you had 2 characters, Nero and Dante. Nero, you go through the start of the game. You'd walk through like the entire game basically to the end, and then something would happen. Then you play as Dante. Dante would come back through the entire game. There was no difference in gameplay at all. There was no difference in environments. I think the enemies were.
So was it kind of like
tougher?
It's kind of like what's it called? It's like Ghouls and Goblins, something where you have to do the whole game and then you have to read the
Ooh,
oh.
Kind of like that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm back. It's an earthquake. It's lots of earthquakes in Wales. It's terrible.
So speaking about those features, then have they like sort of shown anything for DMC5? Like shown those features? So
I'm so glad you asked, Mark. I will share. One thing that the series has done really well is introducing new characters. So Dante's brother Virgil has been a playable character who is slightly different to Dante, but still different enough to slightly simpler than Dante, but different enough to enjoy his gameplay, especially in DMC 4.
Okay.
Finishing off with Nero. Dante in 4 was so complex and so much fun to play, and Nero's okay, but he wasn't as complex. So he had 1 sword, 1 gun, which was a handgun. With the sword, you could sort of do certain timings, kind of like I don't know, like Gears of War when you do the active reload. If you hit a certain button after an attack, you would rev the sword, because the sword is a motorbike. So don't laugh. That's perfectly fucking rational. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And then you'd add a fire attack onto the next attack. So there's like an area of complexity with that. And then you had his right arm was a devil bringer, which was like a grapple. So you could pull enemies close, you could teleport or jump towards enemies, and do sort of certain grapples a la God of War. Great fun to play, but it wasn't as complex as Dante. So DMC 5, there's confirmed 3 playable characters: Nero, Dante, and I'm not sure if this is confirmed, but it's been labelled V, which is the same character as what Cyberpunk 2077 is,
Yeah, Stranger Eyes. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if that is going to be Virgil, who's Dante's brother, who is one of my favorite gaming characters ever. He's the king of fucking weebs. He is amazing. Or if it's going to be a new character altogether. But
You know who it's
the
going to be,
story,
don't you?
who's it going to be?
It's going to be the emo Dante.
Oh no. So before I go into what they've released with DMC5, they've released 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I think because this number 4 was the first game to go multi-platform. Originally, it was a Sony exclusive, and I think because the sales were poor, they hired Ninja Theory to make the new game to appeal to a Western audience, and they came up with DMC.
As if it didn't appeal to him in the first place.
I know. It's like what the fuck? It's one of my favorite game series. Like how and I don't even know where to start. I think they wanted to appeal to the kids basically, and in their minds, being like some emo fucking idiot who sleeps with strippers and is just I don't even know where to begin. Like part of DMC wasn't that bad. The gameplay was okay.
I was just gonna say actually, I've played that one, and the gameplay was pretty good. But I fucking hated Dante. I just hated him. I was like, I don't care about him whatsoever. Most of the characters.
Yeah, the gameplay was alright. I didn't like the Devil Trigger because the whole point of the Devil Trigger was you get fucking amped up and you punch shit out of people and you get that little burst of power, burst of adrenaline. That's what the gamer felt when you use it because you get like that. Yes, die. That's that sort of feeling. All it did in DMC was fling all the characters up in the air, all the enemies up in the air, so you could attack them in the air and they were vulnerable. But there wasn't that same sense of impact, so I don't think you gained any strength or anything like that.
I can't remember. But yeah.
Anyway, you're right. The game was just very very sort of counterculture and very just the main character. He was just so unlikable. He had none of the one-liners, none of the swag. He was just a dick.
Yeah.
And his brother Virgil is in the game as well, and he is nothing like the Virgil from the other games. Like Virgil, who hates using guns because he's a swordsman and sees it as a sign of weakness, shoots like a pregnant demon and kills her fetus in the fucking womb. It's like, what the fuck is this shit? It's just nonsense.
Sorry, go on. I cut you off there. So, what's the feature of DMC5?
I don't even talk about it. No, it looks awesome. So, it's not really a spoiler because it's been in all the trailers. Nero's lost his arm, so he is the son of Virgil, and all his devil powers have been contained in his right arm. Someone at the start of DMC5 has cut his arm off, and he has. I assume he's trying to get it back or trying to get revenge for it. But he's partnered up with this new character called Nico. And you have basically disposable arms now, which is kind of a bit weird. But there's 8 different types of arms, and they all have different abilities. So I assume it works the same way as Dante's styles. So he's got his basic sword and gun, revolver, which may or may not work a little bit differently. You may have like new ones, I don't know. But each arm does something different. And you can have normal attacks. So one, for example, improves your online. Your maneuverability in air. One does like a powerful shock attack. One mimics his old devil trigger where where he can do grapples. I don't think there's been gameplay for any of the others, but there's been like a slideshow. Like one's a whip, one's a spear, one can stop time. One you can surf on it like a fucking rocket. Well, it turns into a rocket, and you can surf on it like a skateboard, which is just like orgasmic. It's just so fucking cool.
So wait, is this an arm that anyone can buy?
I would fucking buy it if I could. I've got 2. I don't need another one.
No, I mean like So like in the other game, like, I know obviously it's going to new features of the game, but it seems like, do the enemies have it as well? Like, can they have this arm, or is it just specific to Nero?
Well, it's being custom built to him through Nico. I assume they'll say something like because Nero is like superhuman because he's got demon blood. I'll assume they'll say something like only his body can handle it or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But he's got like in his stump, he's got like a wire, so he can still do the same sort of pulling enemies towards him and jumping towards enemies, which is cool. Then that'll be universal. But when the arm will break. I think if you take too much damage, it'll break, and you can use like a special attack, like a one-off super attack, which will break the arm. Okay. So it's used as sort of currency as well. So you can run out if you're not too careful.
I'll have to check out this gameplay.
It's fucking tasty, man. It's so tasty. It's so good.
It does look really good. Also, sorry. Do you want to keep talking about DMC? Because there's something else I wanted to talk about.
No, you jump in. It's fine.
Yeah. So I think you want to talk about this as well. And he's gone.
I'm back.
So, have you seen the 40 minutes of gameplay for Cyberpunk?
Not all of it. I've seen most of it.
Okay.
I've seen the end bit and the start bit. I've seen lots of side boob.
Who hasn't?
At the start. Who hasn't? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, what do you think?
I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, it looks like a really good game, and I hope they can bring all that they promise into that sort of gameplay. But yeah, I mean, I suspect they want to keep a lot of the features that the back as well, because they don't want to reveal everything. But I know I thought the world was interesting, like the fact when they find someone and they call for a medevac sort of thing, and they go out and like five guys fucking come out of there, guns pointing at them, tell them back the fuck off. Like,
yeah.
It's like they're a sort of personal army sort of thing, like a private military.
I found that pretty interesting because like the city seems to be run by these like big mega corporations, and all these augments that humans are having, be it sort of better eyesight. I mean, you fucking name it. There's so many different types of augments they have. Like your better strength, they have like mantis fucking arms and like different sort of upgrades to their brain and hacking abilities. It's just insane. But I think it costs so much money. And like in the example of the trailer, this person was protected by this chip. So if their vitals went down, so they went unconscious, then it would automatically send out this platoon to help them out, sort of thing. Because there's just so much money involved.
Oh no, they didn't do that in the trailer. I'm pretty sure that there's a chip blocking the signal to make a call.
Mm-hmm.
So when they said that no, if you call a medevac, you'll have to pay these credits because it was a private sort of company.
Oh, I missed that. I saw a different bit where you pick out this girl at a pool.
Yeah.
She was cause she's like being harvested for her augments.
That's
basically.
it. Yeah.
And then V sort of hacked.
Right. I'll just cut that out. But yeah, sorry.
Right.
What were you saying?
Yeah. So, the world itself looks really interesting. And I think, if anyone can do that sort of, lore-filled, very rich city and world, it can be CD Projekt Red. Like what they did with The Witcher. But I prefer to see like this futuristic city, this dystopian future, because we've seen the medieval stuff so much, and as good as The Witcher is, it's just so different, I mean, the comparisons to Deus Ex are inevitable. So I think Deus Ex was originally inspired by, the Shadowrun Cyberpunk board game. Because if you guys don't know, Cyberpunk was originally a tabletop board game like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay, I didn't even know. Okay.
Yeah, I watched an interview with the original creator, and he was a bit hesitant for anyone to have the rights to it until now, because I mean that's what.
But yeah, CD Projekt Red came around, and then okay.
Yeah, exactly. But it looks so fucking good. What I'm excited for the most is the way you can customize your character.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's no classes. There's 6 different skills. What are they? One's pretty funny actually. I think it's strength, constitution,
street cred,
flexibility, cool. That's what it's called. Cool. What is your cool?
Oh, I thought it was street cred.
What is your cool? I think that's a different thing.
Oh, okay.
That's not like a base stat. But yeah, like you put the jacket on you and your street cred increases, because they're the similar thing in Sleeping Dogs, where the more street cred you had, the more you would advance on like a certain skill tree, which was like jacking cars and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but like something interesting that I liked in the trailer. So, as you know, I like playing Siege quite a bit, and there's something I noticed in that gameplay, and if it is, fucking, that's gonna be quite good, but hard to implement in such a massive environment, I think. So the walls they were shooting at, like through the boss, like they were shooting for the walls to hit like not a boss, but like one of the enemies. And like I know, I just thought if because I do it on Siege, you can just wall bang people, but you don't see that in a lot of games. And on a massive scale like that, I'm wondering how much of an effort it's going to be to have a lot of environments like that where you could just shoot through the wall and hit enemies on the other side. Yeah. So even on Deus Ex, like you had certain points you could do it, but not the whole thing.
It was like if you had like a pillar, it'd be like the side of the pillar sort of thing. You shoot through like the side, but you wouldn't actually just destroy the entire environment.
So here's another thing as well I noticed about the gameplay, and this was a big issue for me with Deus Ex, right? Because I liked the game originally, but it took you out of the moment so much when it's like, say, you're doing a sneak attack, like.
Hang on. I need to have my Mars bar. Snap that off. Yeah, I got the engine now.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that though. It was like, yeah, that was shit. But the part that took me out of it the most is when you do a sneak attack, like a assassination, or you do knockout. It does this weird fade to black for like 2 seconds, then shows you like a CG scene where you're doing this attack, and it takes like another 2 or 3 seconds. Then it fades to black again, and then it brings you back to your character, and it took you out of it so much.
I never noticed the fade to black. I know what you mean with because he'd have the blades in his elbow and he'd do like a fancy sort of, execution. Because I think Far Cry 3 did that well, because you would just sort of come up, quick knife, move on. That's what you wanted, because it's to the point. You're not trying to be flashy. As cool as it looked, like that was the main problem with Deus Ex for me. Was the only way to play it was to be stealthy.
Yeah, that's how I like to play it. It's like you go.
Yeah, I mean that's how a lot of people like to play it anyway. But I don't think you could play it in a different way. Because do you remember the problem with our boss? I can't think of his name. He was like a big
the machine gun guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And patch afterwards.
Yeah, because people couldn't fucking kill him.
Yeah.
Because they raised their character to be like really stealthy, and they didn't have like much actual combat prowess and constitution, and then they stuck fighting this massive guy, and there was no way to like stealth him or anything, and they was getting like wrecked.
Yeah.
They had to patch the game because they didn't foresee people playing it in a different way.
Which is a bit odd considering they say there's so many ways you can play. But yeah, that was one thing that really bugged me about that game. And I noticed this, like, say, you just mentioned Far Cry. Like, the sneak attacks are not good because it's fluid, and they're, like, kept in that view. And the same with Doom. It's, like, 1 or 2 seconds, that's all you need. But then Deus Ex took you out of it, it showed you, like, a third-person view, and then it just felt so long. And in this one, Cyberpunk, it was the same sort of thing. It's like, okay, like, that sort of camera view, like, you're still in that person's body, you're getting the view of what they're seeing, and it's like an assassination. But that was what I was happy about, because I didn't want him doing the bullshit third person, like, oh, look how cool this is.
Yeah, it's just over the top. And I think the gameplay just looks smoother. It's early days, but it just looks smoother than Deus Ex was. I mean, Deus Ex, we're not trying to slate it, it was a good game. The main thing I'm looking forward to is the customization. So they haven't got any sort of classes as such. It's probably a bit like Dark Souls, where you can preset your character, but after that, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But from what I understand about the tabletop game, you basically had there was I can't think what it was called. It was either called like Humanity or something along those lines, and that was your sort of. It was a number out of 100 or 100%. And you had a certain amount of allowance of how much humanity you had left. So the more you would augment your body, be it better eyesight, different hacking abilities or that sort of thing, the more sort of robotic you would become, to the point where if you went down to 0, then you would just become like a cyborg. You'd have no emotion. You would just be like this automaton sort of thing.
Okay.
And I found that, like, I think that would be really interesting in a story aspect if you had like multiple choices, and even if it meant restricting you. So say you had to, like, I don't know, save some kids from who had been held hostage, but you only had one shot, like to kill the bad guy drug dealer or something like that. But the option to save them would be like blacked out, because it's like, no, you can't, because you don't understand that, because you've got to a stage where you've become so augmented that you're just thinking like, no, the primary directive is in front of me, I'm gonna fucking kill it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, part of me doesn't want you to restrict gameplay, but if it means it's like a balancing act of you becoming like as powerful as you can be, or as customized as you can be to play, you know, be it stealthy or hacking, or just I think I'd like to play just a big fucking tank, to be honest, like shields and stuff. Like a really cool tank, just fucking slick as fuck. I don't know. Like, there's so much potential that you could do with it.
Do you know there's a Futurama episode like that as well?
Is it really? I haven't seen that.
Yeah, Hermes keeps getting upgraded to the point where he's well, at some point he says, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna upgrade my brain as well." So they grab his brain, and then Cyborg chucks it back in his old body. So he's just been collecting the parts which he's getting rid of.
That does ring a bit of a bell, actually.
Yeah. So he's just back to himself, and it's like, oh yeah, back in my old body.
Yeah. One thing I hope they do with it is, obviously it's early days from what we've seen of the gameplay, but if they change it so not change it, but you're not fighting fodder all the time, because you were just, from the gameplay, you were just mowing through people. I know it's sort of pre-scripted for the gameplay trailer, but if the people you're fighting are also, you know, they're also like very, very slick, or they've got like the shooting around corners ability and that sort of thing, because that would just make you feel like, fuck, as special as I am, like everyone is just augmented to the fucking grills.
Well, it probably will be at some point. So like, you didn't say you watched the whole thing, did you? Do you see
no,
meeting the agent?
Was that the big guy in the car? I saw that.
No, they go to meet the agent. It's like part of a side quest, but they show up and they point out that these people are so high level that they can't even see what level they are. Just showed question marks. So you could
that's cool.
Yeah, so you could either pull out your gun at some point and try and shoot them, or you had to be smart about it and sort of talk them down and then proceed that way. So there probably will be at some point, like, you know, some especially augmented people. Well, you say that, the guy that they shot at first in that harvesting area, he had like a massive Gatling gun.
Yeah. Because then you have to sort of go around the corner to distract him, sort of thing.
And then I forget his name now, but what's his name tackled him? But yeah. But
the Spanish guy.
Cover
up your culo, get down here. Yeah, I liked him. Yeah, it looks pretty good. It's one of those games where there's so much potential to it that the hype is gonna really escalate. It's kind of like No Man's Sky, and I shouldn't bring that up in the same sentence as Cyberpunk. But there's so many ways it could go, and I hope it does have like a bit of focus, and it's not. It doesn't. It seems to be very story driven as opposed to just like an open world sort of sandboxy. Do what you want, but there's no real drive. It seems. What I think they'll do is, you know, with little missions here and there, will open up new avenues and open up sort of more insights to the way the world works and how powerful these corporations are and that sort of thing. I don't know if they'll. Is it a morality system? Do you know?
I can't recall anything being like a morality system. There were certain choices you could make, which would lead to certain outcomes, but I don't think there's any sort of morality concept. Because I mean, at the end of the day, the jobs you're taking on are from, I don't know, I think you can take them from like gangsters and stuff. So you are going to be doing some questionable stuff, but I think it's more down to the choices that come afterwards then.
Because I know when it first showed like the player card, there was an option of who your childhood hero was, and the three options, I can't remember the names, but there were three options. One was this sort of freedom fighter type character. One was a infamous sort of mercenary bounty hunter type,
Yeah.
and one was the head of this corporation. So that almost looks like the good, neutral, evil sort of spectrum. If that makes sense.
Wait, was this in
But,
the
I mean,
gameplay trailer?
yeah. It didn't out. It was. I watched like an analysis trailer because it says the names of the characters, but it doesn't say who they are.
Yeah.
But going back to like the Cyberpunk lore, that's who they are in the game, and there seems to be lots of like nods to the original series. Like obviously we haven't played this, we don't know the ins and outs, but it seems to be lots of nods to that.
Okay, I'll have to watch like a breakdown sort of thing back. I mean, there's some things you just miss, especially in 40 minutes of it. So...
Yeah, there's so much to see. Part of me as well would like to just be like some fucking corporate shill and just like, yeah, I'm just after the money and I don't care what I sort of stomp on together, just to see how that sort of plays out.
Yeah, it does look like a good game. I hope they can make it happen. Definitely.
Yeah, it's very because this is gonna upset all the internet moms, but it is very gratuitous. Like lots of like naked bodies and everyone saying cunt.
Yeah.
It's like I mean that's the thing is that's how people talk. That is just how people talk. So it's interesting.
Well, they even say in
But,
the gameplay, this
people.
is a mature game for a mature audience.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so
It's
some
it's a horrible place. I can't think what it's called. It's in Night City, wherever the city is set. It is a horrible part of the world, and,
So if-
and the gameplay and story affects that.
so if
Reflects that.
there are parents that buy this for their kids and they they do complain about it, it's their own fault because it looks like Dread, basically.
Exactly, and I love Dread.
Yeah, it's a really good film, but it's like if they let their kids watch that, then they got no excuse for buying this game because it looks like Dread. It's the same sort of environment, like these massive multi-complex buildings where people live, and they have their own. They even said their own sort of little societies within them because there's just so many people within it. So yeah, they're
kids don't want to play games these days, Mark. They want to play Fortnite. That's weird.
Oh, you're getting it wrong. Like games are for kids. It's a childish thing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's why all games are fine for kids. That's the logic of it.
Yeah, apparently.
Idiots.
Well, why bother making like these complex stories? Kids don't appreciate that. They just want like something shiny to play with for 10 minutes.
When I was working in the game shop, man, like game. I was I remember this one person in particular. She's mother and her son, very little, picked up Dead Space, and I was like,
I mean, that's frightening. Now I play that and shit myself.
It's very jump scare, And
yeah.
I said to her, I don't think you should be buying this for your kid. Like, and she's like, oh, why is this? Is it a bad game? I was like, well, it's a horror game. It's very bloody and graphic, and it's about aliens that take over humans after they die. So like, well, if you're fine with that, but and she didn't buy it in the end. But it's like, you gotta look at these games. You can't just go, oh yeah, okay, I'll buy that for my kids straight away. People
are stupid though, Mark. I mean, people do that for films still. They take like young kids to go and see like the new fucking Saw film, and then wonder why they can't sleep. And they complain. It's like, oh my god, this is a horrible film. Why would you release this? Like Timmy was scarred. It's just stupid.
Aliens is a sequel from E.T. I heard.
What?
No,
I was gonna say.
It's like what parents probably did.
Yeah, I'm sure you can make that connection some way. To be honest, I do run the risk of going really off topic and talking about kids and iPads and tablets. I find that such a weird thing these days. It's so bizarre how they've got all this, information, like all the information in the world stored in this little box, and they're just looking into that as opposed to like, communicating. But
oh, that's fantastic.
I'm just jealous. I wish I had as a kid instead of my fucking Snake game and Sonic the Hedgehog. That's all I had. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a good game anyway. That's Cyberpunk, but I think parents need to start looking at the games and going.
I think it'll always be a thing. I think they're more wise to it than they used to be because like parents now used to be gamers, if that sort of makes sense. So people are a bit more wise than they were before. Like YouTube is a big thing now with all this sort of Logan Paul nonsense going on, where parents don't realize the sort of stuff that comes on there that's really quite sort of harmful and sets a bad example.
Yeah.
So I think there'll always be some sort of public target. If it's not rock music, then it's games. If it's not games, then it's internet stars or whatever the next thing is. But I think there's a lot of harm in the world. You wouldn't let your kid walk down the street next to a busy road. So why would you let them on the internet when they could see and consume anything?
Yeah,
really?
True.
But I'm not a parent, so I can't say anything.
Until
you have kids around, you can't say that. Basically,
you just can't look after their kids. I'll say it. I'll say it outright. It's like they need to fucking take ownership for their kids. I can't blame the companies.
That's going a bit far. I think some people, and more often women, are entitled because they have kids, and they think because they're a mommy, that gives them more sort of credence and more authority over other people, or at least like their views.
No, it's more to do with your point out it's your child, really. I think it's more to do with your parents' sort of view. It's like, it's my child. I'll treat him whatever. I'll teach him what I want, sort of thing. And it's more protection than anything, I'd say, like parents. But they just, I don't know. In my view, they just need to take ownership for it, and stop blaming game companies for making these games. Like, there are different audiences all around the world for like certain types of games, and the fact that and the fact that like they bought a like mature game for their kid, and then they complain about it. It's like, well, sorry, you're a fucking idiot.
And you think that like the last 10 years how much that has changed, because like when we were younger, like especially when we were sort of early comprehensive school, so 11, 12, something like that, if you met another gamer, then you were just best friends for life. It's just like, oh my god, we both play games, this is amazing.
Hence us.
Yeah, hence us. Although we did meet a little bit later. But the way things have progressed is to a state where people could play games and have nothing in common at all, and you even to the point of being like, oh, you play fucking FIFA, what a fucking scrub, that sort of attitude. And it's like saying, oh yeah, I like TV, I like reading books. Not everyone has the same tastes, and that's the way the games are going. Like, I've gone down over the the indie route as opposed to like the online competitive multiplayer route. And people just have different tastes within this massive, can't think of the word. This massive phenomenon.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's variations of different gameplays and story types. So yeah, it's going to be different audiences for each game.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, actually. Something I wanted to mention. It's talking about Cyberpunk. I think they've made the right decision with it's all sort of it's all for the story. It's all the single player narrative. Can you think of a good sort of video game story that really hit you like recently? Something which was not the typical cliched by the numbers story. It made you really think, or something you just really enjoyed.
Warframe, I have to say.
Has Warframe got a story?
Yeah, we talked about this last time on the podcast. So there's quests you can do. And actually,
I remember you saying it was a quest, but it's kind of like Borderlands has got quests, but it doesn't mean it's a good story. It just means there's like funny things happen as you shoot and loot.
No, so in Warframe there are certain quests, like these ones in particular, where you do Second Dream, it's called, and in the Second Dream you find out what the Tenno actually are and where they came from.
Right.
And I don't want to spoil it, but yeah. So you find out what they are, and no, it just goes from there. Like, they explain about the Grenier as well, and like the different enemies, like where the infested, the flood really came from, and like how the Tenno came to exist. But I know. I just thought it was a really interesting story. Like loads
So
of good
you
gameplay.
you really like it, but you don't spoil it, so you you can't really say much more.
Yeah, because it's a big part of like the whole game.
Yeah.
Like
No,
it
that's
leads up
fair.
to it. So it's like
Mm.
like I was watching. Is this Skill Up? I think they actually released a video explaining about Warframe, why you should be playing it in 2018.
Mm.
And they even said like the story is really good, but they said it's like an unwritten rule. Like even when someone in chat says, "Oh, um, what is this quest or what happens or something," it's like no
People will
spoilers.
say.
Like no one will say. It's just like no, you can't. You have to experience it yourself because it just ruins it otherwise.
That's pretty interesting. I suppose there's a difference between having like a strong narrative and really good story, or being in a world which has got a lot of lore.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, if you think of the Song of Ice and Fire books, the Game of Thrones series, like I'm a huge fan of the TV show. But in a lot, like if you read the books or if you look at the DVD extras, they give you sort of an outline of lots of the um, the different towns and the different histories and the different characters within these towns, and that is really fucking interesting. If you can go on YouTube, because that's where I watched most of them, and it's like an hour long sort of audio. It's like I can't think of words today, man. It's like it's like an hour long sort of mini movie with slideshows and animations, and it's being narrated by different members of the show, and half the time it's nothing to do with the actual main plot of Game of Thrones. There's things that happened like millennia ago in really remote parts of the world, or how the
Also, its own like story resembles the Game of Thrones universe, is it?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's in the same universe, but it's most of it's got little to do with the actual main plot. Is Warframe like that? Do you think, where it's like the lore of it is that interesting, or is it? Because like when I say like a good story, I think of games like Final Fantasy IX, where like the actual world isn't that interesting, but the twists and turns of the main story is just so classic, so entertaining.
Yeah, there's well, I mean, there's lots of lore. So the way it works in Warframe, you can do the quests, but there's also like these Cephalon fragments they call it.
Mm.
So you can go do these missions, and if you see a Cephalon fragment, you can scan it, and it unlocks like a section of your codex, which then you can, if you want to, you can read. So like it'll be a little codex thing, but I say read. Sorry, if you unlock the whole thing, it'll show you a picture, like a
Right.
and you can go on that picture. You can move your mouse about. When you move that mouse at a certain point, then it'll bring up one of your Cephalon's old memory fragments because he's kind of lost, like who he was. It's hard to explain, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I
It's
mean,
just he's putting his memories back together, sort of thing.
yeah, but it's a lot built on lore, like what's happened in the past and why they came to be and why they've been brought back now. But yeah, I mean, I was just talking about Warframe, but while I was thinking about that, I think there's a game where we could both agree on that story wise was fantastic. That's God of War. Like, oh wait, sorry, I just
Can we?
realized.
Or can we? Are you trying to throw me under the bus again?
No, I genuinely thought you'd. I just remembered that you haven't completed it, have you?
Well, God of War? Yeah, I completed it. Of course I have.
Okay.
Yeah. I finished in like a week.
And you weren't bored, were you?
I just haven't gone back. Well, so God of War, I did have another game I wanted to talk about story-wise, but as you brought it up, we'll talk about God of War.
Talk about that if you want, because you mean you didn't.
No, it's fine. It's on the list. And I wanted to mention it because of like the original Devil May Cry inspired the new, the original God of War quite a lot, and now it's sort of it's changed so much and it's become more of like a Last of Us sort of experience.
Yeah.
So let's park the gameplay to one side and let's talk about the story for now. The story itself isn't really that interesting. Like nothing really happens, if that makes sense. Like the story is your wife dies. My wife.
Give me back my wife.
Give me back my wife. That's an old reference to Gears of War 2. Your wife dies, and you and your son, who you don't really have a good relationship with, because you're a prick, basically, you take her to the highest point in all the lands to scatter her ashes. And there's some sort of twists and turns along the way, but it's not the main sort of meat of the story is the interactions between Kratos, Atreus, and the head, whose name I can't remember. Can you remember his name? I can't think of his name.
I'm drawing a blank now. Yeah,
I know. It's because I've asked you, but that's what I mean. Like the story itself isn't really that interesting, but the character development and the way the characters are handled felt very believable, and it was really interesting. And I think if you compare it against like The Last of Us or Uncharted, who both games have sort of kind of questionable gameplay, and maybe they prioritize story above gameplay. I think they nail it on both fronts, whereas God of War only really nails it in the characters as opposed to the main story. And the thing is, I'm being very, very critical because I bought it and I finished it within a week, so I couldn't have disliked the game. I did like the fucking game, but I've got a bit of a bee up my ass because of the praise it got. Yeah, I don't know where that expression came from. I got a stick up my ass. That's even worse. Because, you know, when people are calling it like the game of a generation and the best game there was or ever will be, it's like, yeah, it's a good fucking game, but chill your beans. I've played better games this year than God of War. You know, as good as it is, it's not that good.
I don't know, man. Like I really like the story because, as you said, there's a lot of character development in there. Like you see him go through all these emotions, and there's the certain situations, and like the objective is very easy as well. Like I mean, it's very easily understandable.
Yeah.
His mother's just died, and her wish is to spread the ashes on the highest peak, and that is the main objective throughout the whole game. And it's just the journey then of a father and a son. Well, going against all those odds, like to just to do that, just that one thing.
I mean, I won't argue with you too much over the story because I did enjoy it. But I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say. I totally forgot what I was going to say off the top of my head. It's the character interactions was really good, and I think Kratos, the way he developed was it's a bit of a double-edged sword, and I don't know how other people feel about this, but the way he developed throughout the game was, I thought, excellent. Because he steps into this role of a father, starts really caring about his son as opposed to just sort of whatever relationship they had before, which he seemed to not really know how to be a father, and he grows into that role. You know, he's originally just his guardian, but he doesn't really know how to express himself. And there's a couple of scenes where I thought it was really powerful, where Atreus is upset over something, and Kratos like puts his hand by his back and then stops, and then Atreus walks off, and it's like he's really trying to connect with him, but he just doesn't know how. I like that side of it I really loved. I thought it was excellent. The only downer for me was the fact it's in the God of War series, and like I've played how many games were there before? I think there were 6 games, two on the PSP and 4 on consoles. I think I didn't play Ascension. I played all the other ones.
Okay.
And I just don't. He's not like Kratos. You know, he's a different character. Yeah, and he's a good fucking character. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard to swallow that he's gone from the angriest man alive to Papa Bear. If that kind of makes sense. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it, but I had to suspend my disbelief a little bit.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, it's not for everyone. I mean, it's going to have some people that just didn't like the story as much, But what you said about it's not your creators, that's fine. I mean, I've only played God of War 2 and 3 as well, so I mean, I could understand the background of him being such a aggressive person. But in this one, like the fact that he's sort of like he's trying to keep his cool, I quite like that
Well,
about it. It's like he's really trying to keep calm.
yeah, and this is going to bring spoilers out for for the originals as well as the new game. But like the thing is, he got his revenge in God of War 3. He did what he set out to do.
Yeah.
He got his revenge, and that's kind of why I thought it was a good reason for them to have this game, is because they're picking up the pieces, but he's picking up the pieces, and he's just moving on with his life. He hasn't gone out in a blaze of glory. He's got to live with what he's done, and I found that like a really interesting part of his character. It's funny you've only played 2 and 3 actually, because 3 I thought was really good. 2 is pretty good. 3 I think is the best gameplay wise, and it's fucking very pretty. And it's going to be free on PSN in September. FYI, the remastered.
Oh, he
the
did mention.
Version.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the first God of War 1, the first game, I think had the best story. It was like the story in the second game was okay. The story in the third game was just shit. It just wasn't that interesting. It was so one note, and it was like a good sort of. It was like the third act of a movie, where it's like, the stage has been set. Now it's time to shit okay off the pot, kind of thing. And Kratos just kills the Greek pantheon. He's killed Ares. He's killed Athena, and God of War 3 he kills like 6 gods, or I'm sure he does kill at least 6. And the world goes into pandemonium. It's fucking great. It's fucking awesome. But the first game had so much more tragedy to it, where you understood why he was so angry, and you understood that he was just a man in pain, and he never set out to get revenge. He never set out to to hurt people. He was in so much pain himself that he just wanted to be over. He just had enough. And that's something that's never mentioned actually, is the fact he's I'm sure you told me something about this, but the fact he's like his dead family's ashes are sticking to him. That was the big sort of plot twist in the first game.
Oh yeah, there was
Oh, what was this? I'm sure you mentioned something about this before.
There was a guy tweeted about shit, I forget the actor's name now. But like they were saying when they make
he's
the
guy
character.
From Stargate. He's the guy from Stargate, isn't he? Who does the voice acting?
Like some guy on Twitter, if I'm getting it right, I think they were saying like when they make him black, because it doesn't make, because they got an African American actor anyway. So
yes.
And then he just like this guy just got loads of hate. He's like, "Have you even played the fucking games? Do you know why?"
I know.
I know. He's just fucking dumb.
First of all, he's Greek.
Yeah.
Hence God of War. And second of all, it's like he's literally got his dead family stuck to him. It's white ash. Yeah.
And that's all the comments that were down. It's like, it's the ashes of his family that's covering him.
Yeah.
Like, and then he tried to come back and going, "Ha, I got you. I'm just trolling." It's like, no, you fucking idiot.
Has been satirical man.
Yeah, so that didn't go down well for him. But it's just like,
no.
What's the matter anyway? I don't know. It just bugs me.
Yeah, I mean the gameplay for the most part is really good in God of War. I think the only thing I didn't like was so much climbing. I think they could have just streamlined that a bit better. I think it was a bit of a trade-off because the game looks so gorgeous. It was probably to mask loading times, I imagine. Yeah. That's why you had to climb so much. The combat itself,
that's a good thought. I didn't even think of
that. It's probably something to do with that because it's so slow doing it. And it's a clever way to do it. I don't think it's a bad trade-off because you've got top bands as you do it between Atreus, the head, and Kratos. And like they did that in The Last of Us. And I think they did that in The Last of Us very fucking well, with the little sort of interactions between Joel and Ellie and Sam and the other characters that come along.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is me looking at a game and really trying to pick it apart, because if someone said, would you recommend God of War? I'd be like, yeah. If you like gaming, yeah, buy it. It's a good game. But it's not without its flaws. The combat is good, but it's not as complex as it could be. And I think it's, again, because the game looks so pretty and it looks so gorgeous, and you've got these really high resolution effects. The trade-off is you're so close to the character because you've got to can't render all this in such that quickly, because they're such massive characters with such beautiful animations. But as a fan of the series, it's nice seeing Kratos's fucking Blades of Chaos, which just had like a little red streak on them, and now they're like, like the fires of fucking Hades. It's nice to see it evolve like that.
That was a good moment in there.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. I didn't. I wondered like why he was keeping under the house the whole time I was playing it, and then as soon as the head said, "Oh, your axe is useless in hell because they're all cold. We need something hot," I'm like, "Oh yeah, baby, I know what's hot. We got some hot stuff." And then you see the blades come out, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, boy! That was like prime fan service." And I think it's got a good mix of. If you've never played the other games, I think you can play and enjoy it. There's not really too many questions. I think for the most part, you'll sort of figure it out. But there's some sort of nods to the old series as well, which we're very fucking appreciated.
That's it. Yeah, it's a good game. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just comparing it to DMC, because I got DMC Devil May Cry, the shitty game we were talking about earlier, for free on.
I also love the name of that, DMC Devil May Cry. It's like, wait, hang on, is it Devil May Cry, Devil May Cry? Or
you got a fucking stutter or something? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, right, in thinking that it's called DMC : Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's like, what?
And I love that series, but it's not even the worst game in the series, which kind of sucks.
Obviously,
like Devil May Cry 2 is worse.
Do you see the Angry Joe review of that?
I fucking sent it to you. It is so funny.
Like, I fucking cried when I saw that Bewitched sort of soundtrack come on.
Like, I'm sure you guys know who Angry Joe is, but the amount of times I've watched the first minute of that review, it's so fucking funny. Must be a witch, 'cause I am living in hell. It's so fucking funny. Oh, God.
I love it.
I even ironically like that song now as well. It's like such a bad song, but it reminds me of such a funny thing. I'm just like, it's amazing. It's so good.
I was going to say now. Go on.
Yeah, so I with DMC, it was kind of a one and done deal. I played it, didn't think much of it, but I enjoyed enough to finish it. And God of War, I gotta be honest, is kind of similar. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than fucking DMC Devil May Cry, but I can't see me going back to it in the future. I just don't think it's. Once you've experienced the story, and for the first time, it was very, very good. But I don't think I could go back to it. And there's lots of games like that. I don't think there's a problem where there's some games you can just play on repeat, like the games like Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank. I can play Jak and Daxter the original now. I love it. I've probably played that game at least 12 times on rainy Saturdays. But I can't see me going back to it because it's such a long game. But for what I played of it, I played about 30 hours, and I really did enjoy it. It was a good game.
Oh yeah, same. Like, I really enjoyed it, but chances are it's like a one and done sort of thing. I'll never go back to it now until like a few years down the line. Like, there's some games like that now with like Red Dead Redemption. Now again, I'll just pull out my Xbox just to play that. But otherwise, I won't be playing it over and over again. What I was going to say is I'll just been doing this for about an hour now, so
just sign off. I think I
think we're done here. So if anyone has any comments or wants to join in anyway, feel free let us know.
If there's anything you want us to talk about in the next podcast, let us know. We're just kind of new to this, but I'm enjoying it, and it's nice to have a bit of a chat. So if you want to let us know what we're going to talk about, comment below.
Yeah. Take care.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.